All right, let's talk about market crashes. And I don't just mean how to survive them, I mean how do we actually thrive through them. Think of this as a coaching session. We're going to take that pit you get in your stomach when the market's tanking and turn it into a real strategic advantage. Ready? Let's get into it.
So, what's with this number? Negative 12%. Well, on March 16th, 2020, that was the S&P 500's drop in one single day. Can you imagine? In just 24 hours, $5 trillion in value just poof, vanished. I mean, that's pure, unfiltered panic for millions of people. It was a brutal day.
And that right there, that panic, brings us to the big question we're tackling today. See, the problem isn't a lack of information. We're drowning in data. The real issue is our own brains. Our psychology, the way we're wired, is just completely out of sync with how modern markets actually work. So what do we do about that? How do we fix it?
Okay, so here's our game plan. It's a 5-part roadmap. First, we'll dive into the panic paradox. Then we'll talk about building your financial fortress. After that, it's the in-crash tactical playbook. From there, we shift to turning crisis into opportunity. And finally, we'll tackle the big one, mastering your inner market. Let's go.
All right, section 1, the panic paradox. This is all about understanding why we make such bad decisions under pressure. We're going to dig into this fundamental clash between our caveman brains and what it takes to be a successful modern investor.
This really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got your human brain. When the market goes crazy, your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, just lights up. It's pure fight or flight. But on the other side, you have market logic. That requires patience, data, and using your prefrontal cortex, the smart, rational part of your brain. The problem is, when that alarm goes off, the rational brain basically just shuts down. It's not a personal failing. It's just biology getting in the way of our portfolios.
And just so we're all on the same page, let's define what we're talking about. A market crash isn't just any old downturn. We're talking about a super fast, really severe drop, 20% or more, in just days or weeks. It's way more intense than a simple correction and a lot quicker than a slow, painful bear market. Knowing what you're dealing with is absolutely crucial.
Okay, let's move on to section 2, building your financial fortress. And here's the most important takeaway for this whole section. You don't start building a fortress in the middle of a battle. The work you do to survive a crash happens years, literally years, before it ever hits.
And what's the cornerstone of that fortress? It's all about asset allocation. The classic 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, is kind of the gold standard here. Why? Because those bonds act like a giant shock absorber. When the stock market is plummeting, the bonds are there to stabilize things and cushion the blow.
And you don't have to take my word for it, just look at the data from Morningstar. If you're all in on stocks, 100%, you can expect an average drop within any given year of about 26%. Ouch! But look at the 60-40 portfolio. That drop is cut almost in half, down to just 14%. That 12-point difference? That's not just a number. That's your anti-panic buffer right there.
Now, every fortress needs a war chest, right? Cash. But it's not just about having one big pile of money. You got to think in tiers. Tier 1, that's your emergency fund, your sleep-at-night money. Tier 2 is a bigger buffer, maybe 6 to 12 months of expenses. But Tier 3? Tier 3 is where it gets exciting. That's your opportunity capital. This is the cash you keep on the sidelines, waiting for the crash. It's your offensive weapon, ready to deploy when everything goes on a fire sale. Okay, section 3, the in-crash tactical playbook. So, the alarm bells are ringing, the storm has hit, your fortress is in place, now what? This is about the rules you have to follow, rules you decided on before the chaos, when every instinct in your body is screaming, sell! And your single most powerful tool in the middle of that storm is the 72-hour rule. It is so simple, but so effective. For 3 days, 72 hours, you do nothing. No buying, no selling, you just stop. It's a mandatory cooling off period. It forces you to step back, check that your bills are paid, pull out that written plan you made when you were calm and rational, and actually look at the numbers. It's like a circuit breaker for your panic button. And if you're wondering if a written plan really makes a difference, just look at this quote from Schwab. Investors who had a written plan were 3 times more likely to stay the course in 2020. 3 times! Think about it. When you have that investment policy statement, you're not trying to make a huge decision in a moment of panic. You're just following orders from your past, smarter, calmer self. So let's walk through a real-world example. Say the stock market tanks by 25%.
Your beautiful, balanced 60-40 portfolio is now all messed up. The stock portion has shrunk, so now you're looking at something like 51% stocks and 49% bonds. And your gut instinct? It's screaming at you, don't touch the bonds. They're the only thing that's working.
But what does your plan say? Your plan says to rebalance. And this is where the magic happens. It feels totally wrong, but it's completely right. Rebalancing forces you to sell some of those bonds that held up so well and use the cash to buy stocks while they're cheap. I mean, it is the absolute literal definition of sell high, buy low. It's a system for being brave when you don't feel brave at all.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 4, crisis into opportunity. Okay, we've weathered the storm, we've played defense, now we pivot. It's time to go on offense and actually use this crisis to build serious wealth.
So how do we do that? One really powerful tactic is something called accelerated dollar cost averaging. It sounds fancy, but it's dead simple. You know how you invest a set amount every month? Well, when the market is getting hammered, you just invest more. You take that tier 3 opportunity capital we set up earlier and put it to work. You're not just surviving, you're actively buying up more of the market while it's on sale.
And look at the kind of reward we're talking about. Take Microsoft back in March 2020. The company was still great, but in the panic, the stock fell 35%. Think about that. The business wasn't suddenly 35% worse, but you could buy its stock for 35% cheaper. And the people who saw that opportunity, who bought that dip, they were looking at a 225% return in less than 5 years. That's what this is all about.
All right, we're at our final section. And honestly, this is the most important one of all. Section 5, mastering your inner market. Because you can have the best fortress and the best playbook in the world, but none of it matters if you lose the battle that's happening between your own two ears. So here's a mental model that can be a total game changer. It's called the regret minimization framework. When you feel that urge to just hit the eject button and sell everything, I want you to stop and ask yourself one simple question. In 5 years, when I look back on this day, what will I regret more? Will I regret selling everything at the bottom and missing the inevitable recovery? Or will I regret the stress and discomfort of just holding on? You know what the answer is. And you know, whenever you're in doubt, just zoom out. Look at this chart of the S&P 500. See those dips? That's Black Monday in '87, the dot-com crash, the 2008 financial crisis, the COVID crash. When you were living through them, each one felt like the end of the financial world. But when you look at the big picture, they're just little blips. They're speed bumps on this incredibly powerful long-term upward journey.
So let's put a price tag on getting this wrong. Let's say you invested 10 grand back in 1990 and just left it alone. Today, it would be worth around $230,000. Not bad. But what if you were a panic seller? What if you sold during every one of those crashes? You'd be lucky to have $80,000. That difference, that $150,000 gap, that is the cost of letting fear make your financial decisions.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. Because here's the thing, the next crash isn't a possibility, it's an inevitability. It's not a question of if it's coming, but when. And now that you have the playbook, now that you know the rules, the only question left is will you be ready for it?